95% of teenagers now have access to smartphones, but that increased connectivity has come with some unwanted side effects. 1 in 3 Aussie teens have experienced sexting, whether it's sending, receiving or forwarding on messages, sometimes without consent.
Now, what can seem like harmless fun can potentially have serious legal consequences, and research has shown sexting has become such a big problem that it's now a bigger concern for parents than smoking or alcohol abuse. So how can mums and dads discuss the dangers and take the time to teach our teens safe sexting? Dr. Jo Orlando joins us with more. Hi, Jo.
Hello.
I mean, this isn't just about sending nude pics. What exactly constitutes sexting and why the rise?
Yeah, so it can be something like sending sexually explicit videos or images to someone, and it could also be sending just a flirty, cheeky message. So it's those two and everything in between. And people are doing it more now because if you think the early dating time, or even when you're in a relationship, you use texting a lot to communicate. So people are just naturally taking this platform and using it as a way of getting more intimate or showing that they're committed. But it's not all rosy, of course, you know.
Sure. So even a flirty, cheeky message can be seen as sexting.
Yeah.
All right. So is it ever okay to sext?
Yeah, well, it can be okay. If you think, a healthy relationship is built on respect and consent. So if you're sending a sext within this kind of supportive emotional relationship, then it's good. But, we've seen dating shows which are social experiments, but, high school is the biggest kind of dating social experiment that we're all flung into. And if you don't understand, how important consent and respect is, then you might be caught in sexting that isn't that. And then it's not okay.
Okay, so let's talk the legalities.
Yeah.
Age, I guess, is one to begin with.
So the age of the person who's in the image and the age of the person who is receiving it. So that's an important part.
Yeah.
An 18-year-old receiving a sext from a 13-year-old, that's not okay, and there are legal implications. And then there are legal implications in terms of if you're sharing a sext that you've received as well.
Right, so girlfriend sends it to her boyfriend, boyfriend goes, that's great, and then shows a mate.
That's right, yeah.
That's illegal.
That's right, and it's happening in about 12% of cases. Someone shares an intimate content that they've got without the person's consent. So massive legal implications. So if that's you getting it, you're receiving it or sending it, you can be legally implicated.
Okay, so what if someone, not even in your close circle, what if you get this text, right? Clearly you're not going to, if you don't want to forward it on to somebody, but it's now on your phone.
Yeah.
What are we telling kids to do about even having those texts on their phone?
Yeah, so there are definite things that they need to do. One is if they receive it, don't engage with it in any way. Don't put a shocked emoji, don't send it, nothing like that. Don't share it. Just delete it off your phone. Because if you participate in it by even just liking it or making a comment, then you're part of this now, whether you want it to be or not.
Okay, let's talk about peer pressure, because you talk about high school. Wow, talk about peer pressure.
I know.
How can teens turn down a request to send a sext to someone?
And you can see it would be really difficult. You're in your first kind of relationship.
Yeah.
It can be really hard. So humour is always a good one, kind of make a bit of a joke of it. But if you're in a kind of early stage of your relationship and you don't know the person well romantically, just keep that kind of conversation offline. So you can still flirt and things with them, but it doesn't have to be done digitally. Like you might be in science class with someone for a couple of years, but it doesn't mean you know them romantically. It's a completely different situation.
It's hard now, isn't it? Because everything for them is on the phone and on everything's that communicated that way. Discussing the dangers with teenagers, really, really important stuff. What sort of conversation should we be having? What's the language?
Yeah, super important. So start early, like beginning of the school year is a perfect time, or if a child gets a new device. But also it can be pretty awkward if you're the parent and you've got a 14-year-old and say, all right, I want to talk to you about sexting. That's an awkward situation. So it's always good to have like a news item or something and talk about that. Kind of softens the blow, and to have regular conversations so it's not a one-off, I've had the talk with you now, that's it. And then I think if your child is caught in some kind of sexting and their image is being passed around, absolutely devastating. So you might want to be very judgmental and say, I told you so, but that's not the time for that conversation. You need to be really supportive, help them get through it, then have that tougher conversation. All right, this is what went wrong. This is what we need to do.
Right, we'll go like the e-safety commissioner there. We'll have some advice online too about what to do if you find your daughter or find your son in that situation.
That's right. Yeah.
Jo,
Good talking to you, Jo.
Yes.
Good to chat.